Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. In that we do not have a quorum, is that open? Yeah. In that we do not have a quorum, but I'd still like to call this meeting to order, and we can start the meeting, and only thing we probably can't do is vote. I don't know, we're not on this,
Yeah, we're on.
We're on?
Live.
Yes. Okay, we're live, and we got the requisite clearances from the video people. I now call the meeting to order for today being February 6, 2015. I'd like to note that for the record, this meeting is being webcast. Directors have received relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask any questions at any time. Assistance with the policy of our parent corporation, the Empire State Development Corporation. We welcome public comment on the items on the agenda. After each item is presented and any comments are received from the directors, we will allow members of the public to provide comments. All comments should be limited to 2 minutes and should only address the item that is under consideration. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of today's action items. Hearing none, we will proceed as I see the head shake. If so, I'd like to make appropriate disclosure on the record at this time.
I have one with regard to the weather.
You may have one. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to such items. First off, and what we're doing, we're taking care of all non-action items concerning our board agenda. I'd like to introduce the General Counsel to the Empire State Development Corporation, Ms. Elizabeth Fine. Ms. Fine, would you give us some fine remarks?
Oh, well, I completely unprepared, but I think...
Good, that's the way we like it usually. And really, you should, that makes you fit in with everybody else here.
I'm very fortunate to work with Ms. Jackson, Marion Phillips, who are at our end liaisoning with the subsidiary, and I know that the work that you're doing is so vital to what we do, and I'm so thrilled to be here today, and I hope to be coming back with some frequency and nicer weather. Appreciate all your great efforts.
We always enjoy when our general counsels are in attendance to keep us from going astray. It's helpful. I know this board relies on its general counsel very much, and it is a pleasure. I want to elaborate on something, that it is an absolute pleasure to be able to work with Ms. Jackson and Mr. Phillips as well. I certainly concur with that statement. Although Ms. Jackson owes me a big favor that she hasn't completed. Talking about my plan, you know.
Yeah, I know that plan.
Yeah,
I know about that plan.
Excuse me? Excuse me, on the record, you want to be on the record?
So moved.
You want to be on the record? So, next I would like to introduce Melvin Norris. Melvin Norris is HCDC's new Executive Vice President and Director of Small Business Services. Mr. Norris, why don't you rise and introduce yourself to the board members?
Hi. Melvin Norris. Nice to see everybody.
I can certainly state that Mr. Norris is a person with with a vast amount of governmental experience, comes eminently qualified to the position. I guess his prior position was, Director of Intergovernmental Affairs at the Department of Environmental Conservation. Presents himself as a very bright, intelligent young man, and those of us that know him certainly probably know a little better than that. And but his commitment to the community goes unquestioned, and I think we're very, very fortunate at HCDC to have Mr. Norris. Welcome, Mr. Norris. Welcome, Mr. Norris. Now, in lieu of for consideration, why don't we go directly to the President's report?
Welcome, board members.
Mr. President.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I basically want to actually kind of like lay out there the reorganization. Now you say, why reorg, right? Well, reorg is basically to streamline our operations and to reflect the mission and current capacity, update programming to provide seamless access to small business resources, increase the impact and outreach community efforts in the community, expand the weatherization assistance program to include additional energy efficient measures. Now, we have 3 divisions. Remember, we used to have 4 divisions. That was planning and development, residential development, commercial development, and weatherization. Now, if you notice that Harlem CDC no longer has a portfolio of properties. So now, and Marion, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we do actually identify a property that may actually could use state resources, that's when we might chime in. But right now, in terms of our portfolio of stuff, that's gone. The last major ones along 125th Street corridor are, of course, the Victoria Theater and the National Urban League project. And those are the 2.
We have an interest in the tax credit.
And the tax credit sites, which we will be meeting on soon.
To your point, if HCDC staff finds projects that we can assist developers within the catchment area, all the resources of the state can be accessed through their project managers.
Beautiful. Well, so with business services, and you met our new executive vice president, Mr. Melvin Norris, who also happens to be the director of small business services. We're going to see business attraction and retention, technical and financial assistance to small businesses and entrepreneurs. And Melvin, you're going to actually elaborate more in terms of some stuff, including our most proud of Think initiative. Beautiful. So let's jump to community development projects, which headed up by Mr. Thomas Lunke. And that will have job training and work skills enhancement and job readiness training for local residents, and facilitating the preservation and development of affordable housing through providing, as appropriate, loans, grants, direct services such as marketing or construction, administration, and technical assistance. Also, we are, if you don't know, a HUD certified counselor. So anyone in the community that needs those particular services, please refer them to Harlem CDC.
My pleasure.
Thank you. We shall continue to provide home buyer, home owner, and financial literacy workshops. Okay, we do that. And all my board members, we'd love to also do them in conjunction with you. If you have a need with your constituency, that's one of the things that Harlem CDC is key on, providing the resources to small businesses and the residents of the greater Harlem community. In addition, one of the divisions that has not changed is weatherization, except for a little tweaking there. And that is, of course, entering into more sustainable energy. And as you know, we have 2 solar projects that were just laying in the cut and just waiting for their execution through the
Is that appropriate board language, laying in the cut?
Sorry.
I'm just curious.
Staying and waiting for.
Standing at the ready.
Standing at the ready. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So,
Laying the cut is not. Yeah, I don't know if the folks in ESDC would really.
they probably don't.
Yeah.
No. So no.
Laying.
Standing.
I said it right. Not even I. The correct way of saying that would have not I.
I got your reference to the Queen's English.
Okay.
I got it.
Standing in the ready.
Much better.
Providing WAP, by the way, is Weatherization Assistance Program. And so providing WAP staff training in order to become a self-auditing weatherization, and we are well on our way to achieving that goal, and increasing HCDC's status and value in the industry of weatherization. Advancing sustainable energy initiatives such as the current solar project, and identify more qualified MWBE certified companies to go along with the governor's 30% initiative, or a
30%.
goal.
What is
Goal.
that?
Goal.
What is that?
Exactly.
What is it?
Oh,
30% goal for utilization of contracts with state authorities and agencies.
thank you, sir.
That's some good English.
That's, yeah, he's educated. Educated.
New York School.
Enhancing the employability of local residents by partnering with NYSERDA, the Department of Labor, and other stakeholders to train for jobs such as retro installer technician. Hey. I'd like at this time to turn this over to Executive Vice President, Mr. Melvin Norris, who will give you an overview of the small business resources that Harlem CDC has to offer. Mr.
Thank you,
Norris.
Curtis.
In the Queen's English, Mr. Johnson.
So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First thing is that on your agenda, you'll note that there is a new logo for the state of New York that applies to all state agencies. As you see, that is the outline of the state with the phrase "state of opportunity." This is a new branding concept by the governor. Okay. And it is meant to signify that New York is a state of opportunity for those who want to live, work, and do business here. Emphasis on who want to do business here.
Where is that located?
On your stationery.
Right here.
On your stationery.
Right, that's it.
HCR also has a new logo, same one. All state agencies have the exact same logo, and then to the right would be your title.
Right. All state agencies have that logo. All state agencies have that logo with the exception of the governor, who has exclusive authority to use the actual state seal. So this is actually part of the governor's effort to make New York government accessible to all New Yorkers. Flowing into our small business development and technical assistance, as Curtis talked about, we have the THINK program, the acronym that stands for, and excuse me, I have to refer to my notes, Tools for Harnessing Information, Networking, and Knowledge. So
Fellas, we have Mr. Norris has the floor.
okay, so as part of that initiative, what we're attempting to do is assist small businesses in numerous capacities. How to start a small business, how to market and manage your small business, how to actually go about with doing different business strategies, how to promote stability and growth within your business. So as part of that, we have these 18 workshops that will take place throughout the year, seminars and workshops that will take place throughout the year. In addition to that, as part of those 18, as part of in relation to our catchment area, we will have 2 workshops strictly in Spanish, catered to our Washington Heights and East Harlem catchment areas. So we're hopeful that this will actually be of great assistance to those who are, again, starting the business or actually maintaining a business in our catchment area. As it goes to MWBEs, that's also related to it. Of course, Harlem Community Development Corporation serves, as a tool for those who want to become certified. We have services on site. We have 2 analysts that work with ESD with the New York State Division of Minority and Women Business Development. And in addition to that, we also have equipment on site that we want people in the community to utilize, since applications are now electronic and they're now required by the state.
Mr. Norris, can you explain that portion in a little bit detail, or maybe Destiny can help? Because Jordan's looking like, exactly what does that mean?
Desi, would you be able to assist?
So people who want to be certified and they have no idea how to navigate the system are able to come in here and get counseling from the analysts, as well as use the equipment to upload their documents.
And then explain how these 2 people will be part of the.
And Elaine and Francisco, they're analysts working here on site, but they are totally connected to the Division of Minority and Business Development at ESD.
And so what would happen is those applications that are filed here, they will remain with these 2 analysts, unlike the overall system where you upload from throughout the state. those go into the whole queue, and they get queued up when a analyst needs to bid. Here, if a business comes to HCDC from this catchment area, you will be able to, your analyst will remain here, your application will remain with these two analysts, which will, hopefully, two things will occur. One, we'll be able to shrink the overall time to certify of all of our applicants statewide, but specifically, the ones in this catchment area should be done within 30 to 60 days. Giving you good understanding, we do about 6 months statewide right now. So it's a significant drop, Sorry, Mr. Mars.
No, that's fine, that's fine. And lastly, we will also attempt to help small businesses through the I Love New York Tourism Initiative, highlighting Upper Manhattan attractions and businesses so they can also get increased spotlighted attention.
When are you rolling out the workshops?
Workshops have already started. We'll have another one in a couple of weeks. That will be our workshop in Spanish in Washington Heights.
Where is it in Washington?
That's Community Board 12.
At the location?
We're very inclusive, right? Stop it before it starts. Is that it, Mr. Miller?
That is it.
Is that it, Mr. Miller? Thank you for that very comprehensive report.
Ms. Jeffrey is actually coming back with a copy of the flyers, just so we can distribute so you can have it.
For those two new board members that come in at 9:30.
So you're lying outside for 20 minutes.
No.
I was in line for I think they should have it.
But you know, we used to have a little jar.
Are
I
you late?
apologize, I mistakenly thought this was
okay.
at
It's
9:30.
I take it very
I thought it was
personally.
on time.
Take it very personally, and so what we're doing, we're trying to dispose of the non-action items as well as we are able, since we do not have the. And I want to thank Mr. Norris for that comprehensive report. Any old business?
No, that's everything.
That is everything. Rose, you have any of those flyers that he's making copies? Okay, thank you.
Any old business?
I have a question.
Question. We encourage questions.
What's not in your report is, what's up with the CIP?
It's not normally not in the report, but
Just
is
an
a
update.
specific question.
No, this is an update.
Update,
Changes to the-
Duly noted. Duly noted, and that will be in the next report. Okay. You just want a history of the program?
I just want to know if there's
We will.
any changes to it.
Okay.
If it's still existing.
No.
Okay. I don't want to mention that, so.
Okay.
That's a very.
I think CIP has been a very important program. I think it's very important and it keeps HCDC, I think, extremely relevant. And keeps us working on good projects in the community. I think our last project was Harlem School of the Arts.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I went to a meeting, and since we're filling time now, I went to a meeting down at the chair of the board's house and with Mr. Archer. And I can tell you, Harlem School of the Arts is most appreciative.
Yes.
Because a lot of our community-based organizations are, quite frankly, struggling at this moment because the federal government is not able to give much money and the state government is not able to give much money, and it's, I guess the only level of government that's able to give some money now is the city level of government, which actually gets their money from the feds and from the state. So I think that CIP program keeps us all, it enables all of us to really keep some of the good work going where some of our community-based organizations would not be able to survive in many ways. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that update. If there are no changes or no changes to it. And it's a very, very good project. President, you want to give us any updates on Columbia, anything like that?
Columbia, as you know,
That was your next question? Okay.
Oh.
I is getting ready to pounce, so get ready. You know, when you have these folks that work for various elected officials, they're always ready to.
Well, Mary, you may even know more than me. I can only just speak to the real estate aspect. And the real estate aspect is that they are marketing the three sites on the Mind Brain Behavior Building, which is the first one to be completed. I don't know if I have the actual name. That's it? Okay. And so they're marketing 3 spaces in there. I actually did a tour with Florence Forbes to actually speak to some of the local restaurants about the opportunity that they can find there. So some of the restaurants from Sylvia's to Chez Lucien to La Marina, to speak about Henry's, as a matter of fact, to speak about all of the space that's going to be available there. Laid it out is that they actually have a marketing marketing organization. It's W, I can't remember. Okay, but they are actually marketing the site and opening it up for these local restaurateurs to actually tour. Now, when I first had the conversation with Columbia, I assumed when they meant local that they were just talking about, Northern Manhattan. No. Local for Columbia is New York City. Mm-hmm. So any restaurant in New York City. So that's why you'll also see interest by Shake Shack, Danny Meyer's group. You'll also see Richie Notar, who was actually negotiating for, of course, we know Lennox Lounge. Also short.
How'd that work out?
Well, it's still in litigation. That's why they had to move forward. Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening on the real estate aspect, that they're marketing those spaces right now. So if you have any restaurateurs who might be interested in that opportunity, please have them contact me and I'll refer them over. Sure.
As it relates to the real estate or the construction of the new buildings, they are probably 12 to 16 months from completing the first building, which is the Mind Brain Center. The second building will be the Lindfest Center, a building which is right off 125th. I'm sorry, it's right next to the building going west.
Right.
Then there's University Center, which is more of a student center type facility, space for meetings. That'll be just south, which is more rectangular, that's the smallest of all the buildings. That is the only building that has a general contractor that is an MWBE. And then the building that's going up next was just north and west of that, which will be the largest of all the buildings, which is the business school. The business school is basically, if I remember correctly, maybe 18% of the whole site. It is the largest building. It will be the largest building on campus, of both campuses when it's completed. They are close to completing the funding trigger, so none of the buildings are able to start until they have 80% of the funding raised, and they should have the building which will be just north of the Mind Brain and east of the business building. That may go into the ground probably by the end of this year, which will give them 5 buildings under construction by the end of this year.
Do we know what their commercial rent rate is? So that you don't get shut out? I was told it's you toured. I thought it was 4 spaces, but it may be 3. It is. I think it's part of the problem. As I get to the answer, is these are very large spaces. They're not very typical of most restaurants in New York City. Most restaurants in New York City are really at 1,000 square foot. 1,200 would be large. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 are huge restaurants.
Yeah.
These are large spaces, 2,500 square feet. One is 4,000 square feet.
Right.
So to answer your question, they're looking at a good dollar. They're not looking at a low end. These are not low end restaurants.
Correct.
That's why you're going to probably see more of the chains or more of the high-end Manhattan restaurants like the Danny Meyer's group, because the size is not the normal size where you would look for a local restaurant.
That's why I'm glad we got Florida back in there.
And there's no way of splitting the spaces to make smaller restaurants?
When we first discussed this with them, they were determined to do it their way. I think the market will determine their way will fail, and they will have to revisit it. The fact that it's open space will allow them to split it up. I think they're going to have to, is the answer to your question.
We don't have any leverage.
Not at this point. I think the leverage comes when they have failure and they need something from ESD again,
Yeah.
at which point then we use the leverage. For us to go out front and try to press them, it doesn't give us much leverage, but they will need something soon. It's just the nature of the process. But again, the market will force them, I believe the market will force them to revisit because they've been marketing this, unbeknownst to you, almost a year. And they've had not much success. And then the last thing is we have a new monitor, GPP monitor. It is, there we go, Landair is the new GPP monitor, who we think will give us an opportunity to really delve deeper into the many responsibilities that they have to the community. And we will be able to push them harder, and that's where some of our leverage will come from, to make sure those items are met. Earlier, late 2014, we did get them to agree to change the MWBE, because the original agreement with Columbia called for an MWB or L, local. We discovered in our research, and the monitor at the time discovered in our research, that L was someone from Westchester. I'm pretty confident everyone here knows their geography and knows that Westchester is not in this catchment area.
I'm sure they'd love to be.
I'm sure everyone would love to be in New York City, and they can't. But the reality is we pressed that issue and we made a change. They can keep their L. However, we got them to sign a letter that says that they will now commit to 20% of the original agreement. The original agreement called for MW or L. We took that and said 20% must be MWBE. The other 15%, it can be whatever they choose. But now there's a hard number. And so the original 30% could have been local. It can't now. 20% must be MWBE.
Back to the commercial space for a second. Is there any worry that they're gonna just say we can't fill it and then take it over for non-commercial use by Columbia? I know they did that with the School of Social Work on 122nd. For years they were claiming they were marketing it, couldn't find anyone to fill it, and now it's gonna be architecture students or something like that. So it's an entire block-long project where there's nothing in there. So is that possible for them to do that if it doesn't fill?
It's a little early, and I'm not familiar with the GPP enough or the overall design plan to answer that.
Okay.
But I can get the answer. Yeah, I don't know do you know it well
I have
enough?
to look at the declaration.
Both of us have to look.
Okay.
I would say.
But I think it's too early to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
From a market standpoint, I think it's too early. But to answer your point, from a legal standpoint, we need to review that.
Okay.
Would definitely say with a number of those restaurants, some of those big guys, like if you're familiar with Henry's at 105th and Broadway, Henry Reinhardt, or Danny Myers, those are the big ones that definitely have shown the interest and the ability with some deep pockets to actually be able to afford some of those rents that you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just put a gas store.
Yeah,
No.
A restaurant.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be restaurant. Three of them
Both of them be
specifically.
restaurants,
Yeah.
with vents and everything.
Yeah.
All the spaces?
Those, right.
Commercial. They also have a need to make those restaurants with a large number of people coming through that area. They need restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be a compliment. You know, with the moving of course, Dinosaur, Floridita, BTH.
The Hudson, yeah.
You have that nice little core there, and then with the addition of this, and of course, as you know, just off of Amsterdam, you have the boutique hotel, Uptown House, developed by the same people who did Soho House, but also having partners of Uptown Magazine also doing it. So.
For those that have come in a little later, we're actually trying to talk about relevant items that have nothing to do with taking any votes or any action. See that we're about 2 or 3 people short, one person short. We're one person short.
It's getting close.
Oh, we can talk about that.
Let's talk a little bit about Victoria, my favorite subject.
Certainly that way.
But let me just ask this, have we,
Certainly that way, because we're going to talk.
do we have anybody that's, whose arrival is imminent?
So,
Do you have anybody whose arrival is imminent? Do you have anybody whose arrival is imminent?
What do we say about Lamont?
No one is answering the phone in their office, although he had said he was coming. And, Rita said she can't make it.
Okay, he's usually pretty definitive.
Bill Perkins, close by.
Huh?
Can you grab somebody from Bill Perkins?
We called, they said that,
You have a whole
the-
mechanism here. Historical mechanisms.
Sorry.
You wanna talk about the charter?
Yes, go. It's only 10 minutes.
So, yeah,
I could just say, I did have a conversation with the developer about the confidence in their heads, the letter that you spoke about, but also the fact that they anticipate closing finally March.
so what Curtis referenced is the developer applied for, I believe, 6 million or 5 million in the CFA. New York City, as you know, did not win one of the higher dollar amounts, so they received lower. I'm sorry? Everyone knows what CFA is, right? Eunice is making me tell you, consolidated funding application,
How the hell would we know that?
which is the Regional Economic Development Council program that Governor Cuomo put in place so that all the regions can compete and for all the available economic dollars through across, I think there are 12 agencies. New York, and then there are 10 regions, as you know, throughout the state. New York City did not receive one of the higher allocations, so Victoria received a lower allocation of funds. The government has sent a letter saying that we would be able to help fill that gap. That was very important so that Goldman would go ahead and close. We sent that letter this week. They should be able to close, as Curtis said, by March. We keep our fingers crossed. They also need to receive an award from HCR for the low-income housing credit, at which point that should be imminent as well. We think that Victoria project will close pretty quickly, and we will, to answer Jeff's immediate question, when will we get a groundbreaking? When the soil falls. But I would dare say the spring is a real time. Spring 2015 is a
How
real
long will it
time.
take to construct? 2 years?
Yeah, you're better on those numbers.
We have, the current lease negotiations would have a build period of about 36 to 45 months. And they have to start with asbestos abatement. There will be historic preservation consultants that need to be on site for all aspects of the demolition as well as the asbestos abatement. The historic elements that are going to be either protected or restored likelihood is that most of them will be removed from the site during construction and will be put into storage. So that has to be overseen by the preservation consultant. So all of those things, when you say groundbreaking, we're talking about starting with the asbestos abatement, then you're talking about the demolition, which can't take place until the historic preservation aspects have been taken care of. So I think right now, the developer is estimating that, right now, I think they are in the building department or putting together the package for the demolition permits, so that once the closing takes place, they can start that immediately. They have about 30 days after the lease is actually executed and the closing takes place to start construction, which means starting that asbestos abatement.
We could do something ceremonial in the lobby, before the investors.
Whatever there is, it will probably be ceremonial, because of the various reasons you just highlighted. You could do something more of a ribbon, not a ribbon, but.
Yeah, you pick a sledgehammer.
Right, or you could do something very cursory, and then once the building starts coming down, do something again.
Good. We missed one.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say this, it is now 10 minutes of 10, and I don't want to waste anyone else's time. I would say at 10 o'clock that we disperse and take up the action item or the items for consideration at another moment, when we can all get here at the appropriate hour. I know.
Are the meetings
just
gonna
that-
be at 9 from now on?
I don't know.
Because I
Just
think
that-
that the change in.
Well, let me
usual
just say
time
this,
would
9
be-
o'clock, I mean, the workday starts at 9 o'clock. I mean,
No, no.
if, sometimes, I remember board meetings, I had to get there at 7:30 in the morning. So
that's
I don't know.
I just wanna know.
As you know, that we usually try and convene meetings when it's convenient for most people. Sometimes the middle of the day is convenient, sometimes the early part of the day is convenient. I prefer earlier in order to get it out of the way. Because as you know, sometimes our board meetings can be rather lengthy and somewhat contentious from time to time. But I do know that the governor's office is looking at, board people who will become active on the boards and such, and I knew that they're looking at it since they're tweaking the governor's second term here, they're trying to find folks to participate. So, I don't even know if we have to get a motion to adjourn.
No, because
No, we never really opened, yeah, never really.
well, we may have an idea, yeah, percolating.
We're percolating.
Well, they gotta get an attorney to find out.
So how about, who's in favor of instituting the late jar again? No one, see,
Yeah.
come on like a limp balloon, I think.
I think that's a good idea.
We
We can't vote on it.
Two reasons you
Who's in
can't
favor
vote. You don't have a
of
quorum,
reimbursing
and we don't wanna
transportation
discuss it.
coming up here last week without being notified?
Reimbursing
I'm
transportation.
just making a joke. Yes, something, they forgot to call me. I showed up last Friday for a board meeting.
I see.
Oh, you
What
showed
I
up
would
last Friday?
suggest though, if there's a long line in the building, go on the employee side and then go to the guard's desk and let them know that you have a board meeting upstairs and they will let you jump the line.
Terrific.
that, it was like.
But
Even
if
with your
you
state
fall-
ID?
I tried that in the past.
I did
You didn't
it.
call anybody up here?
I jumped it.
No.
So I'm-
Well, in that
I'm
case,
gonna-
if there's a long line, and it gets call upstairs, and then someone will rush down to get you.
Maybe you guys can give them a list.
That's an idea.
We will try it.
That's actually a good idea.
And we can also let the building manager know in advance.
Absolutely.
The board meetings, and so that-
Yeah, because I do know if they get those long lines.
There's ways of correcting that.
Yeah.
We normally meet at 10. I mean, the
Yeah, I think
majority of
that's
the
what
meetings.
costs-
Or do we want
I
to
don't
move
think
that
we've
back to
ever had,
9?
listen, I've been around this board.
I like 9.
Yeah.
You want to move it back to 9?
Fine, I
Listen,
just
we've had meetings
get
at
the
1,
change kind of throw me off.
we've had meetings, and I think it varies.
Well, 9 would be good. For instance,
Nothing is written in stone, in terms of.
like many of us, I could speak for Mr. Watson and myself, we usually go to our offices first at 8 o'clock and then come up all the way from Wall Street to come uptown. So the earlier the better.
No, 9
Correct,
is
Mr.
fine,
Watson?
but I
That is
think it's
correct,
better
so.
just to set like a regular time. 'cause
Correct,
that
Mr.
change
Watson. Yes.
Well,
that threw me off.
and as
No,
I
no
was
excuses,
saying,
but that just threw me off.
as I was
because
saying,
we
there is
changed
no
from-
regular time.
3 times.
As I said,
Tonight,
I've been- I've been
That's what
to these
happened,
board
okay.
meetings,
How about you
they've
just
been
do
at
it?
1 o'clock,
Crazy. No, that's
I've
not
been
right.
to board meetings when they've been at 11 o'clock.
9 o'clock would be good. Like for Mr. Watson and myself, we're all the way down there. We come in at 8, go to the office, leave at 8:45, and then come all the way uptown.
Thank you, Greg.
Certainly, I've been informed at various times, I've had to drive down from Albany a lot of times.
We're very aware of that.
And,
You're good.
and-
Mr. Chairman?
Let me just say this.
Meeting's over now.
These board meetings
What
are
about
not scheduled for my
reimbursement?
convenience. Believe me, I wish that they were. I wish that they were. All right, with that, thanks for coming.
All right. I guess we're here by.
Thanks for coming.
It was 3 different days.
Actually, a very
with 3
productive
different
meeting.
times.
But not a board meeting.
So,
But thanks for coming.
all right, I'm glad I had this conversation because I thought I'm going crazy. I
No.
thought this was at 9:30.
Like what meeting?
I thought I was so on time, and then I walk in and everyone's
No,
there.
that's
Philip.
your face.
You know,
It doesn't show up on your calendar?
It did, but I guess, you know,
You didn't wonder why.
I
At least I'm not going on. Couple of indictments there.
Couple people being, you know, convicted.
But it was good seeing all of you. Happy New Year. So I saw that there's a whole bunch of things on workforce development.
Yeah, well.
You know, it's
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I have to
You have to adjourn. Oh, well, everybody sit down for a moment, please. Sit down just for one moment, please. You can keep your coat on. Sit down just for one moment. Even though we never really opened officially, I will be more than happy to take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? We are now adjourned. All right?
All right, that was very official.
That's it. As long as I have my agenda.
How are you, Aya? Good. How you been? Good. We missed you. I had the opportunity to meet Heidi, though. I know. She's amazing. She's good. She's great. Yeah.